now is talk a little bit about playing with brushes. How many of you own and play with brushes? Raise your hand if you play with brushes.
¿Cuántos de ustedes están acostumbrados a tocar con plumilla?
Not too many. 1, 2, 3. Carlos. Okay, I think that the brushes are sort of a lost art. I think that more of us need to work on playing brushes. I think there's a really big use for brushes in lots of different styles.
Bueno, pienso que el tocar con plumilla es un arte perdido y debería fomentarse más y practicarlo más.
I'm going to just tune this up a little high. There's a lot of great books on playing with brushes that I've worked on. One of the greatest books is a book called Philly Joe Jones' Brush Artistry.
Hay muchos libros sobre el arte de tocar con plumilla.
It's called Philly Joe Jones' Brush Artistry.
Y el libro se llama el arte de tocar con plumilla de Philip Joe Jones.
And another great book is a book by Clayton Cameron. He's a really great young drummer that's a brush expert. And his book is called Brush Artistry by Clayton Cameron, or The Living Art of Brushes by Clayton Cameron.
Y otro libro que es el arte viviente de plumilla de Clayton Cameron. Es un experto en plumilla.
Anyway, there's lots of different techniques and different ways of playing. In the Philly Joe Jones book, the left hand uses a clockwise motion where the left hand is going around the drum in a clockwise, like the face of a clock, like this.
Los ejercicios de Philly Joe Jones van en forma del reloj, o sea, como igual que marcha un reloj, así va la mano izquierda.
And the right hand is playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Eso es lo que toca la mano derecha. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or faster, you make the circles. When you want to go faster, you make the circles smaller.
Cuando quieres más velocidad, hay que hacer el círculo más pequeño.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the left hand can act as an accent, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right up in here.
Eso que está haciendo son acentos que él hace con la mano izquierda.
And there's many other styles of music you can play with brushes. A lot of bands nowadays use brushes, like Nirvana. Dave Grohl, the drummer in Nirvana, used brushes and blastics a lot. Many drummers use brushes for rock.
Los plumillas se pueden usar en muchos distintos estilos, no solamente en el jazz. Por ejemplo, Dave Grohl de Nirvana lo ocupa en los unplugged, también ocupa las plumillas que son de plástico.
You can mute the drum with a brush by leaving your left hand down and playing it like a muted sound.
Pueden mutear o hacer sordo o muerto el sonido de la caja si empuja la mano izquierda contra el parche y le pega.
And combine that with the open sound.
Combina el sonido abierto con el sonido muerto.
Across the drum head.
Hace girar la vaquita, o sea, la plumilla con la caja.
Also, I'd like to talk just for a second about holding the sticks. There are so many different opinions on holding drumsticks. I don't think there's any one way that's correct.
Por un segundo quiero hablar cómo tomar la baqueta. Hay muchas formas de tomar la baqueta Y no creo que haya una forma correcta de tomar la baqueta.
Many teachers say traditional grip with the fingers up here and the fulcrum here and a hole in the first bit of the fulcrum with the right hand.
Muchos profesores enseñan la forma tradicional con teniendo la mano derecha, tener el hoyo aquí entre los dedos.
Other teachers, I don't know what that was.
Mantener el hueco entre el medio de los dedos, la mano.
So other teachers try teaching with matched grip where both hands are completely the same and you can close up the gap so you don't have a gap.
Otros dicen que puedes tocar solamente con... Otros profesores enseñan con la forma no tradicional, con la baqueta tomándola como tomó recién, y mantener las manos cerradas.
And there's about 100 different variations of things in between those two grips.
Y hay cientos de variaciones entre esas dos técnicas.
For me, the most important thing is getting the fulcrum or the pinch between the stick and the fingers. And for me, I use the first line of the index finger and put the stick right there and bring the thumb over it like that.
Él ocupa la primera línea del dedo, donde él toma la baqueta, se afirma ahí, y el contraste que tiene entre eso y los dedos. Eso es lo más importante para él de su técnica.
And I close up that gap because it's good to have a gap if you're playing soft, but if you play really loud, that gap, the stick goes right in there, so I keep it closed.
Él mantiene la mano cerrada, para cuando toca bien fuerte, la mantiene cerrada, así le da el touch que él quiere, donde quiere llegar.
And you don't need your fingers for a double stroke roll. You only need your fingers for singles, so you can play a double stroke roll with no fingers. Using that pinch.
Él dice que no se necesita dedos para tocar los dobles. O sea, simplemente los dedos se ocupan para los golpes simples.
The fingers really come in when you do rudiments like the paradiddle, which is a right, left, and a right, right, left, right, left, left, paradiddle.
Los dedos se pueden ocupar cuando se paradiddles, derecha, izquierda, derecha, derecha, izquierda, derecha, izquierda, izquierda.
So you need to use fingers and the pinch. Combination of both of them.
Quiero como una combinación de esas dos técnicas.
Tell a few jokes while I tune this snare drum.
Quiere que cuente unos chistes mientras afinan la caja.
¡Un vino!
There we go. More ring. When I was a little kid, when I was a boy, I used to take lessons from a rudimental drum champion in the United States. And he would go with all the marching bands. You know, the marching bands they have in the U.S. for the football, not the football, the real football that you have here, but the football like Joe Montana, you know. And they're catching the ball, and the marching band goes down the street. That kind of a marching band.
Lo que está diciendo es que cuando era pequeño tomaba clases con un campeón de rudimento y él tocaba en esa banda que era para los futbolistas de fútbol americano.
And so this teacher had me working on traditional grip, but one of the very famous techniques in marching bands is to backstick, to take and play front and back and front and back.
Ya cuando estaba, su profesor le enseñaba la forma tradicional y tocar con la parte de delante de la baqueta y con la parte de atrás.
And one of the songs is a song called Tornado, which went like this. These guys would flip back and forth like this. And they would, thank you. Muchas gracias, Santiago. They would go back and forth and they would pass the drumsticks. There'd be like 10 drummers in the line and they would pass the drumsticks and they would throw them back and they would flip them up and they would catch them and they'd be backsticking. It's like unbelievable.
Cuando él hacía eso había como 10 bateristas y se pasaba la baqueta uno a otro y era una cuestión increíble, loca.
And there are many drum set players. What did he say? What did he say? did you say? Something was funny. I don't know what it was, man. I gotta learn to speak more Spanish because, you know, I live in Los Angeles and many of my friends speak Spanish. They're from Mexico and Puerto Rico and Cuba, and I have friends from South America. About the only thing I've been able to learn so far is the phrase that I've learned from hanging out at the airport, which is, la zona blanca es para desembarcamiento o embarcamiento de pasajeros solamente, no hay parqueo.
Necesito aprender más castellano porque tengo muchos amigos que son habla hispana y lo único que sé decir es lo que dijo recién.
So anyway, many drummers have taken this technique of backsticking and applied it to the drum set. There's a guy named Sonny Emery that plays with Earth, Wind and Fire, and when he plays tom rolls in his solos, he's going ba boom 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 boom, like what was that?
Muchos bateristas tienen la técnica esta que hizo recién, aplicar la batería. Sonny Emery de Earth, Wind and Fire la aplica a una velocidad increíble en la batería.
And another great drummer named Jerry Brown, he plays with Stevie Wonder. He does twirls all the time while he's playing with both hands. He can take his crash cymbals and go crash, 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 and it's musical. It never gets in the way of the music. I think that drummers that do a lot of technical moves, you know, visually, if it gets in the way of the music, it's not good. But all these guys, it just adds to the music and it doesn't take away anything.
Jerry Brown, que toca con Stevie Wonder, él ocupa muchas técnicas, por ejemplo, dar vueltas a las baquetas, tocando con los platillos, haciendo cosas increíbles. O sea, dice lo que es importante, si no se sale de la musicalidad dentro de una canción, está bien que lo haga. O sea, si empieza a hacerlo por gusto y no es musical, no sirve de nada hacerlo.
Many other drummers like Steve Gadd and Billy Cobham, Harvey Mason, and lots of drummers that I can think of, they played a lot in rudimental marching bands, and they worked on their flams and their roughs and their double stroke rolls and their paradiddles and all the rudiments, and that's why they can apply the rudiments so well to the drum set.
Bateristas como Steve Gadd, Billy Cobham y Harvey Mason, antes de ser baterista yo han tocado en orquestas de marcha, en bandas de marcha, y por eso cuando ellos van a tocar batería, tocan tan bien y saben los rudimentos y lo aplican en la batería.
Buddy Rich was a rudimental fanatic. He loved the rudiments. Yeah, Buddy Rich. Yeah, loved the rudiments. When he was a little boy, he used to play in the vaudeville bands where they had the theater and they had the dance, and all that drumming was rudimental snare drum. When he got older, he applied the rudiments like those rudiments to the snare drum on the drum set.
Ya, Buddy Rich de chiquitito, cuando era chico, tocaba en las bandas de marcha, o sea, y todas esas técnicas cuando él creció las hizo en la batería después.
And many ways that brushes are applied to the drum set work in the same way. If you take some of those exercises I was doing and you apply to the drum set, they sound like this.
Los rudimentos que hizo con los plumillas, si lo aplica a la batería, suenan así.
Anyway. The next song I'd like to do is a song by David Garfield, and this is a song that I've been working on with many of the grooves that I've learned from a drummer named Jimmy Branley. Jimmy Branley is a Cuban drummer who's 25 years old, and he moved to Los Angeles 4 months ago, and he's teaching in Los Angeles, showing lots of Los Angeles drummers about Afro-Cuban music.
La próxima canción es un tema de David Garfield que ocupa mucho patterns que aprendió de un baterista cubano de 25 años que enseña ahora en Los Ángeles, que se llama Jimmy Bradley.
Jimmy Branley is also a Mapex endorser.
Jimmy Bradley también es un endorser de Mapex.
And he really understands Cuban music because he grew up in Cuba.
Él entiende mucho la música cubana, Jimmy Bradley, porque nació en Cuba.
One of the first things he has me do is to play quarter notes on the cowbell down here.
Lo primero que hace es tocar negra en el licenciado con el pie izquierdo.
And play 2-3 clave with the jam block.
Hacer la clave 2-3.
And then a mambo pattern.
Mambo con la mano derecha.
And then improvise with the bass drum.
Improvisar con el bombo.
And Jimmy plays in a band in Cuba. He did play in a band in Cuba called Eneje La Banda. And this band was one of the greatest salsa combination fusion bands around.
Jimmy tocaba en un grupo muy famoso en Cuba, se llama NG La Banda, que es una orquesta de salsa.
And then he also played with a great piano player named Gonzalo Rubalcaba.
También tocaba con Gonzalo Rubalcaba, un pianista.
And so this is a song with a 2-3 clave called Songo Jam by Dave Garfield.
Este es un songo jam en 2-3 por David Garfield.
much. Thank you. Another song I'd like to do right now is a song called Manic Depression by Jimi Hendrix. This is a song that Mitch Mitchell played drums on. Mitch Mitchell, let's give him a hand. And one of the things I love about Mitch Mitchell's drumming is that he fused together rock and jazz. He didn't just play rock like he used a lot of rudiments and a lot of jazz technique to take jazz and rock and fuse them together.
Lo que me gusta mucho de Mitch Mitchell es que fusiona mucho el rock con el jazz y los rudimentos y lo fusiona todo juntos.
This song I'm about to do, Manic Depression, is in 3/4. Let's all use our hands on our legs and try to play this beat. With your right hand and your bass drum and your hi-hat, we're just going to play quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Vamos a hacer esta canción que es en 3/4, que hace con la mano derecha y el hi-hat haciendo negras.
And let's try it like on our legs, just to get...
Ponemos todo el mundo a hacer eso en 3/4, la mano derecha y pie derecho.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The left hand, we're going to go slower. 1, 2, the left hand goes like this.
La mano izquierda hace esto.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now he also used 6-stroke rolls. Right, left, left, right, right, left.
También usaba los rulos dobles de 6.
Ba, ba, ba. You can take 6-stroke rolls around the drum set. That's called taking a 6-stroke roll and putting it around the drum set.
Es una demostración del rulo de 6 en la batería. De 6 golpes.
And he also had a lot of Buddy Rich Buddy Rich was one of Mitch Mitchell's favorite drummers, so you can hear the influence of Buddy in Mitch's playing.
Buddy Rich, o sea, Mitch Mitchell era un fanático de Buddy Rich y se escucha mucho cuando toca la influencia que Buddy Rich tenía sobre Mitch Mitchell.
This is my brother Matt on bass and Doug Bossy from a band called The Mustard Seeds on guitar.
Este es su hermano Matt de nuevo en el bajo y un guitarrista del grupo Mustard Seeds.
Incidentally, the Mustard Seeds are the band that they were playing the CD of when you came in. It's a band that I used to be in with my brother, and I'm not in the band anymore. I went on to do some other stuff, but they have a new drummer, and they have a brand new record out called Mustard Seeds Red, R-E-D, and I really would love it if you could check it out because I think it's a great album.
Mustard Seeds es el grupo que ustedes escucharon al entrar a este lugar, y es el grupo del hermano de él, la canción que vamos a escuchar es del hermano también. Y les gustaría que todos pudieran comprar el disco que se llama Red.
Thank you.